The slur cut through the afternoon air like a knife. 5th Avenue, New York City, October 1958. 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. The sidewalk was crowded with businessmen in suits, women with shopping bags, tourists craning their necks at the buildings. Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. were walking out of the Plaza Hotel. They'd just finished lunch. Business meeting with some studio executives. Standard stuff. Frank was in a good mood, talking about a new arrangement he wanted to try. Sammy was listening, laughing at Frank's jokes, walking half a step behind the way he always did. Not because Frank demanded it. Because that's what Sammy had learned to do. Stay small, stay careful, don't draw attention. They were almost to the car when it happened. A man stepped out of a tobacco shop. Middle-aged, red face, expensive coat. The kind of man who thought his money made him untouchable. He saw Sammy, and he said it, loud enough for everyone on that block to hear. The N-word. Hard R. Dripping with contempt. Followed by, "What's he doing at the plaza? Since when do they let—" The man didn't get to finish his sentence. Because Frank Sinatra stopped walking. The street went quiet. Not completely. New York is never completely quiet. But the people nearby stopped, turned, watched. Because Frank Sinatra had gone absolutely still. And anyone who knew Frank knew what that meant. The storm was coming. Sammy touched Frank's arm. "Come on, Frank. Let's just go, it's not worth." Frank shrugged off his hand. He turned, walked directly toward the man who'd spoken. The man's expression changed from contempt to confusion, to the first flicker of fear. "You," Frank said. His voice was quiet. Controlled. More terrifying than shouting. "You got something you want to say?" "I was just commenting that." "No," Frank interrupted. "You were being a bigot. You were insulting my friend. My brother. On a public street, in front of all these people." The man tried to bluster. "I have a right to my opinion." "And I have a right to mine," Frank said. Then he did something nobody expected. He took off his jacket, handed it to Sammy. "Hold this for me, Charlie." Sammy's eye went wide. "Frank, don't. He's not worth it." "He's not," Frank agreed. "But you are." Frank turned back to the man. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to my friend. Right now. In front of everyone here." The man laughed, nervous, trying to save face. "I'm not apologizing to." Frank took a step closer, got right in the man's face. "Let me explain something to you," Frank said, his voice like ice. "That man you just insulted? He's more talented in his little finger than you'll be in your entire worthless life. He's a better man than you'll ever be. And he's my brother." He paused. "So you're going to apologize, or I'm going to make you apologize. And trust me, you don't want option 2. The crowd had grown now. 30, 40 people. Stopped on the sidewalk, watching. The man looked around, saw all the eyes on him. "You can't threaten me. I'll call the police." "Call them?" Frank said. "I'll wait. And while we're waiting, I'll explain to everyone here exactly what kind of man says that word on a public street. What kind of coward hides behind his bigotry." He raised his voice, not shouting, but projecting, the way he did on stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet someone. This is Sammy Davis Jr. Maybe you've heard of him. He's one of the greatest entertainers in the world. He can sing better than almost anyone alive. He can dance like nobody you've ever seen. He can act. He can play instruments. He can do impressions that'll make you forget who you're listening to." Frank kept his eyes on the bigot. "But more than that, he's a good man, a kind man, a man who works harder than anyone I know. A man who serves his country in the military while people like you sit safe at home. A man who makes the world better just by being in it." His voice dropped back down. "And you thought you could insult him. Because of the color of his skin. Because you think your whiteness makes you superior." Frank smiled. It was the scariest smile anyone on that street had ever seen. "Let me tell you what makes you superior. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, You're so far beneath him that you can't even see him from where you're standing." The man was sweating now, looking for an escape. But the crowd had closed in, not threatening, just watching, waiting. I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," Frank said. "You meant every word. But now you're scared because you realize you said it to the wrong person. Because my face is known. Because people are watching. Because there might be consequences." He leaned even closer. "But here's the thing. There should always be consequences. Every time you say that word. Every time you think your race makes you better than someone else. Every single time. What do you want from me?" "I told you," Frank said. "An apology. To Sammy, now." The man looked at Sammy. Sammy was standing there holding Frank's jacket, looking like he wanted to disappear into the sidewalk. I'm sorry," the man mumbled. "Louder," Frank demanded, "so everyone can hear you." "I'm sorry," the man said, his voice cracking. "For what?" For what I said. For the insult." Frank stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned to the crowd. "You all heard that, right? This man just apologized for being a racist. I want you to remember his face. I want you to remember what he said. And I want you to remember that this kind of hate has no place in our city, in our country, anywhere." He looked at the man one more time. "Get out of my sight." The man practically ran, disappeared into the crowd. Frank walked back to Sammy, took his jacket, put his arm around Sammy's shoulders. "Come on, Charlie, let's go home." They walked to the car in silence. The driver opened the door. They got in. The car pulled away from the curb. Sammy was shaking. "Frank, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Frank said firmly. "He could have had a weapon. He could have called the cops. You could have been arrested. I don't care." "Frank, listen to me, Sam." Frank grabbed Sammy's shoulder, forced him to look at him. "I don't care what it costs me. I don't care if it's convenient. I don't care if it's smart. When someone insults you, when someone uses that word, when someone tries to make you less than what you are, I'm gonna stand up. Every single time." "Why?" The question hung in the air. Frank's expression softened. "Because you're my brother. And because I can. Because I'm white and famous and powerful enough that they can't ignore me. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to make them uncomfortable. I'm going to force them to see their own ugliness." He let go of Sammy's shoulder. "You shouldn't have to fight this fight alone, Sam. You shouldn't have to smile and walk away every time someone degrades you. You've been doing that your whole life. Taking it. Absorbing it. Protecting everyone else from the discomfort of confronting racism. That's just how it is." "No," Frank interrupted. "That's how it was. But it's changing. And I'm going to help change it. Even if it's one bigot at a time." Sammy wiped his eye. "Thank you, Frank." "Don't thank me," Frank said. "Just promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll stop making yourself small. Stop walking behind me. Stop lowering your voice. Stop apologizing for existing." He looked at Sammy. "You're Sammy Davis Jr. You're the most talented man I know. And you don't owe anyone anything except being yourself." Word of what happened spread through New York like wildfire. By that evening, every newspaper had called Frank's publicist for comment. Most celebrities would have denied it, played it down, made it go away. Frank gave a statement. "Today on Fifth Avenue, a man used a racial slur against my friend and colleague Sammy Davis Jr. I confronted him. He apologized. That's how it should work. Every time. No exceptions." The next day, the story was front page. Some papers praised Frank. Some said he'd overreacted. Some accused him of publicity seeking. Frank didn't care. He'd made his point. 2 weeks later, Frank was at the Sands in Las Vegas. Before his show, he did something unusual. He addressed the audience directly. I want to talk to you about something that happened in New York recently. Some of you might have read about it. I confronted a man who used a racial slur against Sammy Davis Jr. The audience was silent. Some people have asked me why I did it. Why I got involved. Why I made a scene on a public street. He paused. I did it because silence is complicity. I did it because if good people say nothing when they witness hate, then hate wins. I did it because Sammy Davis Jr. is my brother, and I will defend him with everything I have. He looked out at the crowd. And I want you to know something. If you come to my shows, if you support my music, if you call yourself a fan, then you accept this too. You accept that I stand with my black friends. That I will not tolerate racism, that I will make you uncomfortable if that's what it takes. His voice hardened. And if you can't accept that, then don't come to my shows. Don't buy my records. Because I don't want your money, I don't want your support. I want to live in a world where my friends are treated with dignity and respect. The audience erupted. Not everyone applauded, some walked out. But most stayed. And they cheered. Years later, in 1987, a journalist asked Frank about that day on Fifth Avenue. Do you regret how you handled it? Confronting that man in public? Frank looked at the journalist like he'd asked the stupidest question in the world. Regret it? I wish I'd done more. I wish I'd done it louder. I wish I'd made that man cry. That's pretty harsh. You know what's harsh? Frank said. Being Sammy Davis Jr. and having to hear that word 50 times a week. Being told you're not good enough because of your skin color. Being denied rooms in hotels where you're the headliner. Being told to use the back entrance. He leaned forward. That man on Fifth Avenue, he got off easy. He got a public shaming. Sammy got a lifetime of degradation. So no, I don't regret making one racist uncomfortable for 5 minutes. When Sammy Davis Jr. died in 1990, Frank Sinatra gave the eulogy. He told that story. About the day on Fifth Avenue. About standing up to the bigot. Sammy thanked me that day, Frank said, his voice breaking. But I should have thanked him. Because he taught me what courage really looks like. Not making a scene on a street, but walking through a world that hates you and still choosing to be kind. Still choosing to entertain. Still choosing to love. He paused. I defended Sammy once on Fifth Avenue. But Sammy defended humanity every day of his life. By refusing to become bitter. By refusing to hate back. By being better than the people who tried to diminish him. Frank looked at the casket. I love you, Charlie. I will miss you every day. And I will keep fighting. For you. For everyone who looks like you. Until this world becomes worthy of the grace you showed it. The story of that day on Fifth Avenue is not about Frank Sinatra being a hero. It's about what allyship actually looks like. Not performance. Not virtue signaling. But real risk. Real confrontation. Real consequences. Frank could have ignored the slur. Could have kept walking. Could have comforted Sammy privately later. Instead, he made it public. Made it uncomfortable. Made it impossible to ignore. Because he understood something important. That racism thrives in silence. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be silent. Somewhere on Fifth Avenue, on a Tuesday afternoon in 1958, a man said a terrible word, and another man refused to let it pass. Not because it was easy. Because it was necessary. That's brotherhood. That's love. That's what it means to stand up when standing up costs something.